So whether you've been in this game for a day, a month, or even a year, almost started singing the Friends song there, then there's something that we all have in common, and that is that we all need to find deals, especially pipelining them too. You see, as much as people tell you online that they have the secret sauce in terms of finding deals or the magic method to find your next deal, sadly the fact of the matter is we're all fishing in the same pond. And for this video, what I'm going to be trying to give you is 5 methods that I use and every other investor uses that if you implement over a long enough period of time can, I promise you, and mark my words, will get you some deals. And I'm going to start with the most obvious one and then get into a few of them that not many people actually share with yourselves, so make sure you stick around. Now, I won't be looking at online portals for this particular video, as I'm actually doing a video in relation to what is an actual good deal. And for that one, I want to actually run through live examples as well with yourselves, which I hope will help. Otherwise, it's just going to be a waste of another 6 hours. So make sure you stay tuned for that. And actually, while we're on it, make sure you smash that like and subscribe button as well, because yes, it's totally unrelated, but it'll make a grown man smile. So let's get started with the first and most obvious one. Estate agents and letting agents. So much cushion out. Now this is the most obvious one, the one that I suppose is most common for every single one of us. Because one thing I always try and do, at least in this property game, is to put myself in the shoes of somebody else, i.e. the potential seller. And when I think of a seller, I think first and foremost of somebody with maybe a little bit of knowledge around property investing, or maybe just a homeowner who may have potentially just inherited the property. And then what I normally do is think, where would they go to sell their property? And hopefully this video is going to make you think in a similar way. And the obvious one is obviously estate agents. Estate agents come to mind straight away. Now I'd be lying if I was to pretend that estate agents will simply give you deals just because you've told them that you've sat here and you've watched a video from The Anxious Investor. It's probably not going to happen. However, it's a great place to start. And I should also warn you that at this particular point, every single estate agent has their preferred buyers who will take a strong guess at don't actually watch my channel, as they probably have a pipeline of deals already sorted and will usually get the first refusal. But that doesn't mean you still can't get deals. As what I can say and will say is that if you are persistent enough and you can build good rapport with estate agents, you will still get deals offered to you at some stage, because remember, every single buyer runs out of money at some time. Now, tips on how to do this, because I think this is going to be really, really useful for you all. Firstly, get to know the estate agent. So go around and get to know your local estate agents, and not just on a deal request basis, i.e. you going in there and asking for something off them, but also to try and get to know them as well, personally if possible. Now of course I don't advocate you following them home or anything creepy like that, but just remember simple things that they may have mentioned, for example, just to build that rapport. Secondly, let them know exactly, in as much detail as you possibly know, what you're after. You see, the more precise you can be with your criteria and the stuff that you're after, the probability that they remember you will be much, much higher. It's all about being remembered. Think about it this way. If somebody comes in and says, I want to do a flip because I've watched Homes Under the Hammer, I've come fresh off a course and I want to make a lot of money, compared to somebody else, like hopefully you guys who know your numbers, and goes in and says, well, ideally I'm looking in with this particular postcode for a property that needs some work, some renovation between 15 and 20,000 pounds, nothing structural, but also something that I could then sell for around the 150,000 pound mark. Now, bearing all that in mind with fees and everything else, I want to look at around 100,000 to 115,000. So if something comes along, could you please let me know? Now that is massively going to set you apart from the other person who's asking for a lot of money. That's why you have to be more specific in order to be memorable. Similarly, you can also ask if they have an end terrace house going that vendors may need to sell quickly. Now this obviously isn't that specific, but how many end of terrace houses are there? A lot less than, well, mid terrace. Now of course you still may not get the call straight away, but having that in the back of somebody's mind will absolutely help, especially as we move to the next point, and that is to check in with them. Check in with agents enough, this is the key here, so they do not forget you, but not so much that they want to forget you. Now that sounded pretty neat, I might tweet that one. But basically what you want to show is that you are interested and you are serious about this game, and not just somebody who pops in here and there expecting them to give you a handout. Next up, get your funds in order. Now if you are a deal sourcer, for example, i.e. somebody with a little bit less capital, really just starting out in this game, then show them that you're doing that. Show them that you are legally compliant and how you can work with them in order to not only help your business, but help theirs too. Whereas if you're somebody else, a little bit like myself, and you're simply just out there looking for a deal and you have some funds available, then show them some screenshots, show them an agreement in principle, show them a mortgage in principle, and say, look, this is what I'm actually after and I have some money here. It'll separate you from the tire kickers. Point number 2, social media. Now, if you have social media, I was just gonna say if you have social media, who the hell doesn't have social media? So if you pay attention to social media and the posts and videos that are going around, maybe you've already seen it. There are many posts and advertisements from property investors saying they will buy your house within 48 hours with cash, for example. That's just one example. Or something around trying to get a conversation direct with the vendor. And contrary to what you may believe, this actually works. Yes, it might be a little bit expensive if you're not great at ads, but it can work. But the key with this, however, is using the right social app to obviously market on. For example, if you start making ads on Snapchat to buy houses of people, it's probably not going to work, is it? Whereas if you're looking on places like Facebook, for example, then you probably have more of a chance, if you get the demographics right, and Facebook allows you to do this when you're running the ads, of getting the right population. Maybe homeowners, maybe the elderly population looking to downsize. Because a lot of people on Facebook, let's be honest, they're just lurking around liking photos. But if you put the right ad in front of them, it might just make them think twice about potentially contacting you. And again, you can get yourself a great deal. And just to add to this, I actually did it about 3 years ago off a property page that I had on Facebook. And although I never actually brought a property from a landlord, a homeowner actually became good friends with myself. So sometimes it's about creating relationships as well. So never discount someone just because their numbers don't work. You don't know what else they have in the future. So if you can get good at copywriting, you can get your ads right, maybe with enticing images or videos, and you can get the right demographics that you're after, a Facebook ad or an Instagram ad may help you get in front of the right eyes. For example, the vendor looking to sell, or somebody who's maybe inherited a property, especially before it gets to an agent. Also, just very quickly on social media, another place to at least be looking and at least searching on is Gumtree. Now, I might have mentioned this on one of my earlier videos, but this is a place I actually spent many hours a week on when I went full-time into property. It was a place where landlords are there. It's people trying to cut out the middleman sometimes. So you can always get direct to landlords who may even be looking for sales or may just want to let out their property. So for you rent-to-rent people out there, this may work as well. And just before I leave this point, I've just thought of another bonus tip, is that if you are looking at a property that maybe doesn't work, either on the price or, I don't know, the circumstances just aren't right for yourself or for the seller, I want you to do this. I want you to ask them, have you got anything else? Or do you know anyone else selling a property like this? I promise you, this can open up so much opportunities, and it simply takes an extra 10 seconds of your time. So have that in the back of your mind. Moving on, landlord meetings. Now you won't actually see me at one of these, but sometimes getting around landlords can absolutely help you. You may get a cracking deal, especially those who are tired and maybe fed up of, well, being a landlord. And this can give you opportunities that not many people are seeking, especially the ones that I've mentioned today. And this is one that, if I'm being completely honest, I've only actually done it once. And to be fair, the day I actually went, I kind of felt depressed. In fact, they made me feel depressed and almost regretting the decision of being a landlord. Because at this particular point, I was enthusiastic about investing and, well, owning a big portfolio, and they were just literally putting me off, telling me how bad it was. But if I'd seen it differently back then, i.e. with my mindset now, using hindsight, which is a wonderful thing, I would have probably used my knowledge to look for opportunities. And I slightly regret that, if I'm being completely honest. But my initial intention when going to these was more to understand about what it's like being a landlord. But I want you to go there and seek opportunities, seek relationships, and potentially get yourself a great deal. Next up, direct to vendor marketing. Now, this is something that I've seen some crazy guerrilla marketing on. And as much as I admire the hustle, I'd be interested to see the results. I've seen some people literally stick banners or get their cars wrapped with their logos and with mobile phone numbers saying, we will buy your house and your car. Now, I don't know about you, but I really don't want to do that on my own car. And I really don't want to be driving around promoting it. I admire the hustle and I hope their investment worked out. But for myself, the last thing I want to be doing is attracting more attention to myself when I get out into the real world. But maybe this is something that you may feel comfortable with. And the price to actually do that isn't actually that expensive. However, what I did opt for was direct to vendor leafleting. Direct to vendor leafleting, I can't even say that word. Direct to vendor leaflets, where basically I would send letters like this in envelopes like this in order to attract some attention. Now, I mentioned a while ago, I think on a post, it might have been on Instagram, that's not a cheeky plug by the way, about a lady who had reached out to me about a leaflet I had sent ages ago, like ages ago. which obviously shows that it works. You see, even if you don't get initial results, which most of the time you won't, if you're consistent, you will get them along the way. So what I want you to do is the following. I want you to firstly focus on a street within a mile or two of your investment area. Secondly, I want you to leaflet drop at least every 4 weeks. You want to be getting into their mind space. You want to remind them. You know, like how Domino's remind us how every Tuesday they do an office? Well, you want to be doing that with them as well. And 3, you need to know that responses may take up to a year or even longer. Now, I would love to show you some official statistics in terms of the actual success rate, but instead I'm just going to make one up for the sake of this video. Let's say 3%. Yeah, that sounds pretty accurate. But let's just say for every 100 leaflets that you send, you might get 3 responses. Now, some of them may just be a complete "we're not interested," because I actually used to respond to people as a landlord. Some might just be "let's have a conversation." But in the grand scheme of things, if you think about it, that's not actually too bad. Now, of course, if you want to increase that, then I need you to do the following. Here's 2 more tips. Firstly, I want you to post to houses that have signs up, obviously for sale, or 2 sale boards. And I want you to address it to the owner, just in case there's tenants living in there who may open it. Second, I want you to post to houses that have 2 let signs as well, as this is always useful as well, again, for connecting with landlords, something I mentioned earlier. So those are the 2 main things you want to do. And I think this, if you do it right and your pictures look great and the envelope's red, you might even get more than 3 out of 100. And finally, probate properties. This is probably the one that I'm most consistent with. And it's probably the one that most people won't share with you, if I'm being completely honest, because not everyone shares their best stuff, unless obviously you pay for it. But if you want to get some good market deals, you can potentially get them through probate properties. And what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to share a website with you as well, which I'm going to link I'm going to put it on one of the sides of my face, depending on how the video editing goes. But I want you to like this video first, because I can only assume if you've made it this far with me, rambling on for quite some time, then I must have given you some information that you found useful. And also this video is probably going to take me a good 6 hours because I've made so many bloopers already. I've got to do the editing too as well. So I would greatly appreciate it if you can hit that like button and maybe consider subscribing and maybe consider subscribing if you're new to the channel. But the website is this, and this is a website that I really urge you all to jump onto, because here you will potentially get opportunities if you're patient and you're consistent with it, because it'll give you details of who you need to contact in order to have the conversation. Now, please, please, please do be respectful for those who have obviously experienced the loss, but also do recognize that a lot of inherited properties have new owners, and sometimes these new owners know either little about property, and often they will either just want to sell it, or because they have no real desire to do anything, they might just not do anything with it. So it'll just be sitting there. And this is why you see some very, very good below market value deals going in probate opportunities, because most of them are just left uninhabitable or they're out of date in terms of their overall market condition. So that's what I really want you to do. And that's pretty much the end of this video wrapped up. So I sincerely do hope that this video helped you. I hope you got quite a few tips from this. I did try and tip you guys as much as possible. Again, use the comment section. I'm trying to get more information from you guys to know the kind of videos that I want to give you. Remember, you can pay thousands for this kind of information. This is the kind of stuff that's on courses out there where you can learn it for absolutely free. I shoot 2 videos a week, every single week, and they're all to help you. So I'm gonna end it there. I'm gonna roll some bloopers, and I'm gonna get rid of this cushion, which has been a pain in the arse, literally. Have a good day, guys. Maybe a little bit like, you see, you want to be more. Sadly, the fact of the matter is, we're all shipping. So let's get started with the first and fourth. Who has maybe inherited a property, for example. For fuck's sake, man. It's all about being rememberable.